All right, Miss Beebs, we are going live in 5, in 4, in 3, in 2, and 1. What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunshine Show, where I talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. Tonight, I am interviewing the one and only most amazing Beebs from Beebs and her Moneymakers, Beebs Boutique. And what's up, Beebs? How you doing?
What up, girl? I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Super stoked to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I love all the interviews you've been doing, and you're just such a beautiful light and so supportive to other creatives and musicians. And it's really beautiful to see. And it's also beautiful to connect with another woman in music. So, it's a win-win all around.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. What is up, Megan, Zane, everybody in the house? Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. It's going to be a fun hour. So, Beebs, for those that may not know who you are, could you give us a brief introduction?
Hi, I'm Beebs. And I have a band called Beebs and Her Moneymakers. But aside from that, I have a clothing line. I produce, I songwrite, sidewalk project, make art. I don't know. I try not to identify myself as any one thing, so I have the creative freedom to be whatever I want to be today.
Amazing. Wow, Beebs. So the first time I've heard about you for a few years now, and I was able to actually see you speak for the first time during the Supernova Ska Festival earlier this year.
Oh yeah, my friend Cooley Ranks put that together with his other friend. He's been a dear friend of mine for years. He's from a band called The Pilfers. You guys should check them out. They're amazing. And yeah, Cooley's one of my favorite people of all time. That's my brother.
Yeah, so I saw you speak during that festival, and I always thought, damn, that'd be so cool if I could get an interview with her, and here we are today.
Here we are.
It's like fate. What's up, Jay Bird? What's up, Jake Schwartz? Lindsay in the house. So yeah, it's like fate kind of happened, and I'm so stoked to have you right now. I'm a huge fan of yours, of your music, of your amazing, super talented band.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been a very wild ride.
Yeah, I'm sure. What does it feel like to work with such amazing A-list superstar musicians?
I feel honored, to work with, talented people. I think for me, I started out as, first I started as merch girl, and then a promoter, and then a booking agent, and then a band manager and a tour manager. So I've been working with a lot of different people for a long time, way before I had Beebs and Her Moneymakers. And the thing that I learned quickly in entertainment and working in entertainment is you can't work with people based on who they are. You can admire them for their talents and you can appreciate their talents, but it has to me, music has to be organic and feel good, you know what I mean? And feel like there's something there other than I just want to do something with you because of who you are, or you know what I mean? And I remember even with Beebs and Her Moneymakers, when we started doing Warped Tour and the Jam Band Festival and all the things, a lot of other artists and aspiring artists or young artists that were just starting would hit me up and be like, oh, can you link me up with this person? Or I really want this guy to produce my album because he produced some of my favorite albums. And that's dope that you want to do that. But honestly, when you're recording music, you're capturing a moment in time, right? And it's gonna feel the best and withstand time if it feels like it was organic, and not super, not that overproduced songs or really produced songs aren't great, but to me, that organic moment, and just because you're paying some dude a bunch of money because you admire him doesn't mean he's going to get the best of you out of that moment. What if you guys might not vibe, you might not vibe, how he vibed with those artists were probably what made that album sound so good, but you can't guarantee that someone you admire is going to vibe with you, Yeah. And so I find that the best people to create with are the people that are just in your universe, your friend, the people that are, we have to be big fans of each other to create the best art. I don't like walking in a room and like egos, even as a musician and throughout my touring career, I always hung out with mostly production people because those were my people. That was the world I came from. They, you know, there was no, who are you? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't really like that vibe too much, but, and I think ultimately, like, in Beebs that are money makers, I wore the costume and it was this big fanfare and this big, you know, we had our own comic book and it was this like world that I created, you know, and it was really cool. But I'm very much like a tomboy, you know. I grew up that way, and so having to keep up with eyelashes and hair extensions and this character I created kind of was a psychological mind fuck to me, because then I was having a hard time leaving my house without all that stuff, because I'm like, well, people expect this character from me all the time, and really I'm kind of just like an introverted, you know, creative. I'm very extroverted with my friends and stuff, but I don't really hang out with anyone I'm not creating stuff with. Not, you know, whether that's a dope meal or, you know, a really cool space or whatever we're creating. It's not exclusive to anything. It's not exclusive to music, but just I like to hang out with doers. And I think so yeah, I ultimately get to hang out with some of the best doers that I know, and it was all super organic, you know, and I'm grateful for it. And I think that if you just keep your genuine vibe and, you know, don't chase the people, but keep up with the vibration that you're trying to live your life, and you know, we have to live what we say. We can't just be saying shit, you know.
Sure.
This artist Jessica Caramore, she was doing a Instagram live the other day, and she said, being an artist is a privilege, and you have to recognize that it's a privilege. And so if you have any kind of platform, she's like, I don't care what kind of music you're making, flashy, all the bells and whistles, or what your status is. If you're not saying something, I'm not listening, you know? And I was like, all right, I like, you know, and being an artist is a privilege. You know, we get down like, oh, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. We're indie artists. We're working for ourselves, and oh, things are hard. But it's like, I'm blessed, you know, I'm blessed because I get to wake up every day and do what I want to do, regardless of how much money's in my bank account, because my life is so rich with vibes, you know. I can't take none of this shit with me when I leave here, you know. So I think we have to keep it real, and like, what vibe are you leaving when you leave here? You know, I think everyone was faced with mortality when COVID hit, and a lot of that's been prevalent in a lot of people's realities. And for me, more than scare me, you know, or make me worry about it constantly, I also don't really leave my house. So I don't, you know, but I choose to let that drive me to put beautiful things into the world, and a beautiful vibration, and empathetic and understanding vibration to humanity, because this situation that we're all in is affecting everybody in a really serious way. And we're all moving forward like, oh, when things get back to normal, things probably aren't going to get back to normal anytime soon. And we just have to accept that. And we're going through this period of acceptance, also grieving what was before, grieving what had happened even before that. And everyone's been working, going, even in entertainment, everyone's hustling, everyone's working. Now we had time to sit still and like really process our own emotions, maybe some that were being compartmentalized for a really long time. And all this stuff is coming up in people, and the world is hurting. You know, it's been hurting for a long time, and we've all just been acting like nothing's happening. It's business as usual. The stock market's crushing it. Look, it's fine. Everything's fine, you know? And oh my gosh, my computer's about to die. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. If you need to go grab a charger, you can.
Yeah, I need to go grab this charger. Wait.
Okay, no worries. Take your time, girl.
Hold on, I'll finish this thought, but
Okay.
Oh, here it is. I just have to grab this. Hold on.
Oh, perfect. What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for hanging out. Wiz Fire, JP Miller, what is up? Charlie Pace, thank you for hanging out again. Jake Schwartz, Eric Gomez, Lindsay, Jay Bird, Zane, and Megan. We appreciate your time and energy tonight. We have the one and only Beebs.
Okay, I get it. Sorry for being so
You're fine, girl.
Yeah, so the world's hurting, and you know, my friend said something to me like, when there's a certain amount of, you know, you yelling at someone isn't going to change their mind about anything. You know, it's just not. And I don't know, I don't have all the answers. I don't know shit, but I just know that I just need to be kind to people, and we have to be kind to each other. And this is a gnarly time. If someone's not being kind, Like, that sucks. And hopefully, you know, the situation is rectified and whatever, but you can't let the world, the quote unquote bad things in the world steal your light, because who's gonna, there has to be a balance. Life is a yin yang, you know what I mean? And if, and the whole world's out of balance if it's all darkness, you know, from darkness comes light, you know, from times like this and revolutionary times and chaos comes the most amazing art, you know, that's where art comes from. And, you know, I really encourage everyone to check out what In Decline's doing. It's a really awesome art collective. And Punk Rock and Paintbrushes. Charlie Tuna, who's an amazing rapper from Jurassic 5, makes the most incredible art. He's been making this really powerful series recently.
Nice.
And yeah, so, you know, you have, everything can't be gloom and doom all the time. Every day we have the choice to wake up and say, okay, I'm breathing today. Like, that's great. That's a great start. You know, I have people, I'll do mental health checks sometimes, like, hey, mental health check, how are you guys doing? Name one positive thing that happened in your day. And someone would be like, nothing. And I'm like, well, you had internet and woke up and was able to access the internet. Like, that's something, you know what I mean? Other than just waking up. Some people don't even have the privilege to have internet, you know? It's like, so actually, I don't know how much of a privilege that is.
JP Miller says, just be cautious about who you let park and live in their van in your front yard. Is that an inside joke?
I don't know. Who said that?
JP Miller. He goes, what up, Beebs?
Hi, JP. Yeah, do, you know, be protective of your space. You know, like, look, everyone's not going to vibe with everybody. You know, it's like, it's the way it is. But respect, you can respect each other. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And is this kind of like where your clothing line developed from?
My clothing line actually developed from being on Warped Tour and looking around and like, there's no cool clothes for girls here. It's just all bands, we order the same shirts and we stick our logos on them, and maybe someone will wear it to bed, you know, or something. But I'm super into fashion, and I'm like, yo, I don't, my, you know, my logo doesn't need to be super giant on the shirt. Just, it's a vibe, you know. It's not really about my name. It just has to be a vibe. And so I partnered up with one of my favorite clothing lines and that I've been rocking for a long time, called Lucy Love. They're out of Costa Mesa, and it's a whole family that runs it. And they're just a super cool family, you know. And I met them at Surf Expo in Orlando, and I was rocking their stuff, and I went to ask them, yo, will you sponsor my band? Like, I love your clothes. I love rocking them. And I ended up talking to them, and it turns out that Michael, the dad, who runs the company with his wife, Holly, is the designer. He was like the head of women's surfing when women's surfing first started. And he's like hardcore, like pro women, like he has beautiful daughters and this beautiful wife, and they're just the most beautiful family, you know. And all their stuff's made in the US. They've been working with the same sewers forever, and it was like really eco-friendly and you know, made here, and just such a beautiful family. So I started partnering with them on blanks and designing you know, artwork to go on these blanks, and tie-dyeing their bodysuits and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it started. And then I started, you know, then I did this collab this year. That's pretty much, it was just me making artwork and putting me and my friends' artwork on clothes, and partnering with some cool other designers. And then this, or last year, I guess now, I got the fortune to, the great honor to make partner with Bootsy Collins and his wife, Patty Collins.
Did y'all hear that? Bootsy Collins!
They're like, have you ever, and that was organic too, you know. It's like, I was at NAMM doing it, about walking into my interview at Tascam, and Bootsy was finishing up his interview, and I walked in like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to interrupt your interview. And he's like, no, you're on time and we're just running behind. It's all good. Come stay and chill. And I'm just like, okay. And then, you know, his wife, you know, Miss Patty, was like, oh, your outfit's so cool. We love your outfit. And I'm like, you guys are my fashion heroes. What are you talking about? Like, I love everything you guys, you know, rock, and your music. And I happen to have my business partner and one of my friends who runs publicity for me, Kathleen. She's like, oh, Beebs has her own clothing line, da 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 da. And they're like, oh, really? We want to check it out. And it just so happened that my friend Norwood from Fishbone was doing a show with Bootsy that Sunday at the Wisdom. He had put together his band Trulio Disgracious, and they were backing Fred Wesley, Bernard Purdy, and Bootsy. He had put this whole show together. And so they had already asked me to come set the booth up. So like, all your clothes are funky. It would be perfect for the show, you know, set it up at the show. And I was like, well, oddly enough, you know, my friend, my clothes will be at your show on Sunday. So if you want to check out what I do, you know, and they checked it out and were like, yeah, you're our vibe. We've been wanting to do this. And so they're really, really rad human beings, and, or galactic beings. I'm not sure what the proper word is.
Right. I like to tell the story of how I met Bootsy. It was earlier in 2020 at NAMM, and like he literally, okay, I was standing there and I saw this like tall God coming down, like levitating, but he was on an escalator and he was like slowly gliding towards me. And I was like, this cannot be fucking real. And I chased him down. I swear to God, chased him down 2 flights of stairs before I like got up enough nerve to ask him for a picture. But I thought it was amazing. I had never been to NAMM, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, Bootsy Collins is just like walking around like a normal person.
Yeah, he's the coolest dude. He's super sweet. Him and Miss Patty are the sweetest. They have, I know that they're working on a bunch of good projects, and Bootsy just released a new album. That's what we released the t-shirt for. So working on new designs for the next few things. And I have a couple other collabs coming up. And yeah, everything, just all my experiences and just things I've followed all lead to some other thing. Like, I don't even know how I get to these places. I'm just like, okay.
I love how you say it's kind of all organic. You're not going chasing people. They're kind of just like ending up in your life for a reason.
Yeah.
How does it feel when you see pictures of like Flea, you know, or Bootsy wearing your clothing?
It's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? It's like dope, you know, like this is super cool. You know, it feels for me, you know, just completing the project, because I hadn't done a collab with anyone. So to getting to a clothing collab, so getting to do that with one of my heroes out the jump was pretty dope, you know. And then all these other badass bass players ordered them and wore them, and I'm just like, wow, this is so cool, you know, like this is really dope. And yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity, you know. And I just put myself through college just learning, you know. And that's the thing about opportunity, or people are like, oh, I wish that could happen. It's like, when opportunity comes up, you just can't be afraid to say, you know, yes. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, honestly. You know what I mean? I knew how to design clothes, but as far as manufacturing something, you know, from scratch, basically for a whole other artist, it pushed me to, you know, learn a few other things. And then I got inspired to do hang tags and create my own, you know, Bootsy tags for the shirts and do all these things. So it was a really fun creative process. And now I've been working on jumpsuits and all these other, you know, it kind of opened up my creativity, just them saying, we believe in you and you're our vibe people, and we want to do this with you, put enough, you know, fire in me to be like, yeah, I'm just going to take it to the max, you know. And it started this whole other creative process in my mind. And that's the thing about you know, supporting one another, is the support isn't necessarily just to let someone know how good they're doing. It's to motivate them to keep going, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that you should ever, I personally don't like creating stuff and being like, yep, that's the sickest shit ever, could never be doper. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of like picking it apart a little bit, because that leaves me room for growth, you know.
Sure.
That leaves me room to continue being more creative, instead of, you know, instead of just being like, oh no, that's the dopest shit ever. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's probably 10 more dope things down the road that could happen, but I have to leave the possibility open and not get comfortable or stagnant in current creations, you know.
Yeah, that's a great mindset. And I just want you to know how much you've inspired me and motivated me throughout the past year as I've watched you, you know, do all these amazing projects. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Like, I still am working on sometimes just sitting back and be like, oh yeah, you did that. I'm always thinking like, okay, what's the next thing? Like, because my creativity has ADHD, and it's not that I like don't want to take the time to appreciate anything that I've created. It's just I've already got 20 more ideas that I want to get out, you know, and people are like, oh, how do you do all this stuff? You just have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to do. You can talk about it forever. You can conceptualize it forever. You can make theories about what it will be like when you know, do it. But the only thing that is the only difference between an idea and an actual tangible thing is the act of doing, you know? And I think people get caught up with that part because they're like, oh, are people gonna judge it? Are people gonna, I don't know. And it's like, who cares? Like, I make art for myself and in hopes that it connects with, you know, a couple other people and it makes them feel less alone or seen or heard or brightens their day or whatever it does. But I'm not, that was something I had to be really honest with myself at the beginning of last year when all touring got shut down and I was supposed to be going on tour with Bootsy and releasing this clothes and doing all these things and releasing a new album, and I was in the middle of shooting a video when everything started happening. And I had to be really honest with myself and say, like, who are you without touring? I've been doing that for so long. Like, who are you without that goal of touring or this or that? Like, who are you and what do you like to do? And I was like, oh, I just like to make music and art. Like, nothing is really going to change too much. You know, I sat down, I was like, well, if, you know, if money wasn't present, what would you be doing? And it's like, everything I've been doing, you know? And at that moment, I was really grateful to myself for just doing what I loved and following my passion, not getting caught up in the money or the fortune or the fame or making that at the forefront of my mind, because those are not the things that are important. However, when everything went down, I was like, I need my quarantine, because sure, you can sit and create by yourself all day, but to me, the art and true enjoyment I get out of making music is creating with other people, like on the fly, you know, just writing and creating a song or having a jam, because that's a conversation that isn't divisive and you're actually having, like, your spirits are talking to each other, you know, without all the bullshit, without anything. It's just your spirits are talking to each other and you're having this conversation, and that's the most beautiful part of the music to me, you know.
Wow, I've never heard it like that, and you just put things so eloquently and so amazing, and I just love you so much. Oh my gosh. Could you tell us a little bit about your influences?
Well, I grew up doing theater,
Okay.
doing a lot of theater productions and like tap, jazz, ballet, gymnastics, and I was always a pretty weird kid. Like, I would wear the weirdest shit in school. I was not cool. I weighed like 200 pounds, and I didn't care. I was just, you know, hung out with all the misfit kids, you know, all the goth and metal and punk rock kids. But I was cool with everyone, you know, the kids that didn't pick on me. I got bullied a lot, you know. But my influence, my parent, you know, I was adopted and my parents were older, and so I grew up on a lot of like soul and Motown and funk and old country like Willie Nelson, Patsy Cline, George Jones. And then, you know, as a teenager, I went full punk rock. I was a Warped Tour kid. I went to Warped Tour, you know, every year since I was 12 and raged it. And then at the same time, I was also really into hip hop. But in the punk rock kids I hung out with were like, they were not cool with any other type of music,
Yeah.
which it sucks that we grow up like that. Because as a person who played Warped Tour of multiple years, all those bands are friends. Our bands would never tour together normally because we're different, you know, way different genres of music, but we're all friends. We all go to each other's sets. We all, you know, all listen to it. So to make people feel bad for the kind of music they listen to, or try to make them feel that should only like one kind of music or only underground, and oh, it's bad if you like mainstream, like, that's like, F you. Like,
Yeah.
like, it's only two kinds of music to me: good music and bad music in my, for me, and that's it. You know, I don't really care what genre it is. But so yeah, those were a lot of my musical influences growing up. Um and you know, I don't know, like, probably theater. And I will say, probably the person that influenced me the most to sing, you know, to start singing, there was a band I was working for, and I would sing with them on stage because I was a little karaoke whore. I would sneak into bars, and since I was like 14,
Oh,
never try to drink, you know, but I would always just stand in the back and just put like fake name in and just do karaoke, you know. And so aside from that and the bands that this band New School Dropouts that I was working for, they really encouraged me to and brought me on stage. That was the first band I sang on stage with. So shout out to New School Dropouts. I love you guys. And then I was also booking the booking agent for this girl, Kaylee Baker. She's out of Orlando. You guys should check out her music. She has the most incredible voice of anyone I've ever heard, honestly. And working with her, and I would sometimes sing backups with her, and you know, just all my friends at the time, you know, just working in music, and it was inspiring, you know, and so that influenced me. And I started my first project. It was called Freedom Mind. I was working for that band, New School Dropouts, and a lot happened. You know, I found a friend. I found a friend hanging, dead, and that was really gnarly. And to process that trauma, another homie in the circle played guitar, this dude Jay Vato, and so we just started recording. And he was friends with all these, you know, rappers in our neighborhood, and I would go make hooks for them. That was my first time recording in the studio, was making hooks for the Viper Pit, and then, you know, we had this little project, and New School Dropouts was really, you know, encouraging of it, and it was just my way of healing through what I had seen. I had quit all of the jobs that I was working, because I was also body piercing. I've had like every job. I body pierced for like 10 years, so I would do all this. And I quit everything and just started stocking groceries at a local organic food store, because my brain couldn't even like process anything. I was a mess. And then I had this side project, and then you know, that evolved, and then shortly after that, the trombone player from New School Dropouts, who found our other friend with me, died. And Cooley Ranks was the one that called me to tell me. He found out on MySpace through somebody else and called me and was like, I don't know if our friend Jack's okay. And there's actually a song about Jack on the From Far album. It's called Jack's Ashes on the Pilfers album. But so he had called me, because it's just there's all this crazy shit happened, you know what I mean? And ultimately life inspires me. You know, like life is my biggest inspiration for music, other than the influences of hearing sound. And I mean, life is my biggest inspiration, because if it wasn't for all the trauma and crazy ass shit that I've been through, and the list is deep, maybe one day I'll write a novel about it. But
me too.
But you know, like, that's almost every creative I know. We're not alone in our pain. And in fact, in this particular time, I feel like our pain is our shield, you know, because I can understand how I can recognize seeing someone else hurting, because I've been there. I've seen some shit. I've been not the nicest person because I was hurting so bad. I would lash out at people. I would, you know, abuse, you know, alcohol or drugs or whatever, to just like shut my mind off, because I couldn't deal with shit. And you know, I never thankfully never got, you know, too bad down any of that. I was always, music always pulled me out just in time before it would get too dark. But you know, when we talk about inspiration or influences, those artists created from their own pain. All music comes from plight, usually, you know, a plight of some sort. Whether you're turning that into a pop, you know, positive chords and a positive song, or an emo song, or a country song, or whatever it is, it's humans putting emotion into words and trying to make sense of it all, you know. So life influences me, I guess, is the long tangent answer.
Yeah, no, I love it. And it seems like, again, this is a common theme, that music is your medicine.
Yeah, music is medicine. Ourselves are medicine. And it's not just music, you know, like, people will say, oh, I wish I could do what you do. I wish I could sing, or I wish I could make art. Look, anything that you're passionate about is art. You know, whether it's cooking, making a space look nice, decorating a space, being there for someone else, having the perfect words to say when someone's really hurting, having the perfect listening ear when someone really needs someone to listen. Those are art forms. And I think that they're overlooked, because we just say, oh, art and music, visual art and music is art, you know? We're all works of art. You just got to find what your thing is, you know? And first and foremost, you got to start healing yourself. And we never stop healing. We never stop growing. But you got to start so it doesn't like compile and you totally lose your shit, you know?
Yeah.
We got to all get through this together.
I see you're also a great counselor. Thank you for this therapy session.
They're all reminders to myself too, trust me. Like I'm saying all of this to myself, like don't forget.
Oh my gosh. Let's say what's up to everybody really quick. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We have oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher this. Slabomir, Dave Set Gast.
Dave Set Gast, he's the drummer from New School Dropouts.
Oh, sick. What's up? Thanks for hanging out with us. We have Goody and Zane in the house. We still have
Goody?
Jake Schwartz. Yeah, we were actually talking about you yesterday. We thought how awesome it would be to collaborate with you when I go down to San Diego in a few weeks. So hopefully, you know.
Yeah, and we have that other song to finish too, that cover. We got work to do.
We got a lot of work to do for sure. Oh my gosh, I love you so much. So I want to talk a little bit. I don't mean to name drop here, but I want to talk a little bit about your epic band and just the fact that you have Norwood Fisher as your bass player. Like, what is going on?
That's like my best friend in the whole world. You know, like he's one of the most solid human beings I've ever met. You know, in music, and I didn't even grow up on Fishbone. Honestly, like I knew about Fishbone. Our bands had played festivals together. I had obviously seen their name and their logo everywhere, and it wasn't until their manager John Phillips had given me the Fishbone documentary Everyday Sunshine, and I watched that. And then I was out in this is when I was still living in Florida. I was out in LA doing a press conference for Warped Tour, and he called me. He's like, hey, can you get Norwood into this press conference? Like, the dude from Fishbone? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he could just show up and we'll let him in. But yeah, sure, you know. And then we met that day, and we were just, you know, you meet people and you're just like, this is my soul family. I know you from a long time ago. And we just got into some deep conversations, and we just been really solid friends ever since. Our bands have played a lot of festivals together, and I helped create his bass lesson series a few years ago. And yeah, he's to me a great example of how to be humble in music and not let the music industry jade you, and to always continue to be excited about. He's like the most optimistic person. He's always excited, always down for the project, always down to make music, and just to, you know, and he's always there for people, and he's just a really beautiful person. You know, him and Flea have been working on some educational stuff and for underserved communities too, and just how they move, you know, how him and his collective and his friends move in the world and the things they contribute. And I know, you know, obviously diving into their catalog as we started becoming friends, and what they're saying and their music and how much that meant to so many people is really beautiful, you know. And they never compromise themselves. They've always just been themselves. And I really like people who can't be, you know, can't waver into being someone that they're not, you know. That's why I love Bootsy. Bootsy is 100% his own character, you know. Fishbone is the same. Fishbone is unapologetically Fishbone, and I have so much respect for them as a band and for everything they've had to say and what a big, huge part they've played in our culture. And for the education, you know, Norwood turns me out a lot of cool music. We didn't make music until I came to San Diego. You know, I moved out here and was like, I need a new backing band. He's like, I got you. I'm gonna be your bass player. And he brought in Scott Page, the sax player from Pink Floyd, who's like one of the most beautiful. He's a beautiful person too. They all have a show called the Rock and Talk Show every other Thursday. Okay. And it's basically all of his friends from that have become my backing band, including Jon Stewart and Jay O'Keefe. And he's brought so many beautiful humans into my life, and they're all really solid, not only solid musicians, but solid people. You know what I mean? Like, no ego. Like, I like playing. You know, some people would like give me shit. They're like, you need a young, hot band behind you. And I'm like, for what? For marketing. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I want to play awesome music. And honestly, I love playing with all the older legends because they've done all the things. They've played to the thousands of people. They've sold all the records. They've done all the things, and they're still making music and playing music because they love it, because they truly love it and love creating. And so I love playing with these dudes, you know what I mean? And they give me perspective, and we, it's cool. And then I get, I've brought in my best friend Nico, who's a really dope MC from Orlando by way of Brazil. And I brought him in and some of my other friends, and we all just kind of collab with this band. And it's cool to bring the old school and the new school together, and it's cool to bring beats and live music together. And I think it's just a really beautiful thing. I just enjoy, the not only the education, but the growth that I watch happen with everyone musically, just by being around each other and freely sharing ideas without feeling like, or have an ego present, you know what I mean? Because I feel like ego kills talent every time,
Oh yeah.
like,
Yep.
so yeah, hanging around those guys has been really dope. And, shout out to Norwood. He is a great
Yes.
human being, really great human being. He's giving a bass lesson right now.
That is so cool. My favorite Fishbone album is Truth and Soul. I think it was like released in 1988, maybe. It's the black album with the circle and the fishbone.
Yeah.
And I think I bought that when I moved to Austin, and I found it like the CD at like a Goodwill or something like that. And I swear I rocked that in my car. Like that was the only CD. I listened to it from the beginning to the end every fucking day, on the way to work, on the way home from work. And so yeah, shout out, dude. You're so fucking badass just to be able to surround yourself with like these kinds of individuals. Like it shows like how wonderful you are to attract these kinds of people into your life, for real.
It's been an honor and a blessing, truly. And I think no matter what your friend circle is, you just have to believe in your friends 100%, and be the biggest fan of your friends. Because I always tell people, it's like, if your favorite celebrity came to your house, because celebrities are just people, but if your favorite celebrity came to your house, would you give your best friend or your friend or a family member the same treatment you would give to a celebrity, your favorite celebrity that showed up to your house? Because if not, like, I can't really mess with you. You know what I mean? Like, you got to treat your friends and your family like they're the shit, because they are. And people grow and continue, learning. With Norwood, I was like, why don't you give bass lessons online? He's so humble. He's like, you think anyone would want to take bass lessons from me? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who, I didn't grow up on your music, but I know a lot of people that really admire you as a bass player and really like your technique. And he's like, okay. And I watched him push himself to expand his knowledge as a player and push himself into a space to be an educator, and that was so beautiful to watch, because he's like, oh, I have students that are like killing it, and I really gotta I gotta practice these scales and really get up on my shit to really be there for them. And to see him, how much he connects with his students, and watch him grow in this whole other light as a person, as a musician, was so cool. And it reminds me that we always have room to grow and learn and keep pushing ourselves, and that we find motivation in each other. Those students are definitely motivating him, and to play more, to get down these rabbit holes of crazy scales and stuff, you know what I mean? And it's so cool. It's just so cool to watch. And then it also reminds me, like, we can sit around and bitch about how fucked up the world is, and I'm not going to pretend like it's not by any means, but we also have the power to put good things into it and become the educators and become that space that we feel is lacking in the world, and I think by all of us continuing to communicate that and inspire each other, that we're going to get there. I don't want to sit online and like bitch about people and politics and whatever, you know what I mean? Because what am I doing? Like, I'm not in the act of doing. Back to the act of doing. I'm not in the act of doing anything that is a counterpoint or just putting something into the world. You have to create. There's other people creating things you don't like, so we have to spend time creating things we do like.
That's beautiful, beautiful, beautifully said. In a time where there's so much chaos, I think it's really important to focus on ways that we can unite and come together and bring more peace.
Yeah, I mean, we have to unite and come together. And for the most part, I do feel that people are united. You know, music is a space for that too. And and on top of that, I think we just got to be really real with each other.
Yeah.
You know, we have to be able to say, I feel shitty. I feel vulnerable. We don't want to stew in that, but you're stewing in it by yourself if you're just sitting there feeling like you're alone, feeling like you're the only person depressed. Yo, shit's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like shit is not the greatest, you know? Um, for a long, long time, we America has been branded as this like land of opportunity, and it is. You know, we do have a lot of freedoms here, but I also see a lot of houseless people. I also see a lot of, you know, what people would consider third world type living in our own country, and we're ignoring it, you know, and we're playing into everything's fine. Let's just talk about it. It's okay to be confrontational. We don't have to sweep everything under the rug and just act like everything's fine, because we're not going to get to a solution that way. And I try to look at things that we deem problems. I don't look and go, oh, that's a problem. My brain immediately goes into tour manager mode of like, what are the solutions? You know, like, what are the solutions? How can we brainstorm that? And it's the solutions usually just come down to being a part of your own community. That's where you can start. You can start being a part of your own community, and you know, we can make better things happen. Sounds so
Yeah.
simple, but you know, I get sucked into Twitter sometimes too. Don't get me wrong, but I can't. I have to yell at myself. Get out of here. What are you doing?
Right. Yeah, you can definitely go down that wormhole for sure. Do you have advice for struggling musicians who feel sort of like really, I mean, everybody is affected by what's been going on the past year, obviously, but do you have advice for people that are really struggling in creating art right now?
If you're struggling to create art, just sit in silence for a few moments and just get in that practice every day, because we always have noise happening. There's always stimulation happening. How could you possibly think of anything if you're constantly being bombarded with information? You really have to just sit and go within. For me, like, it's weird. In silence, just I hear songs, I hear melodies, I hear ideas, I theorize things, you know, and then I have conversations with people about my thoughts later once I've really processed them. And usually I think really dope music comes from a conversation, whether that's with yourself or another person. But yeah, sitting in silence. I think silence is important and highly underrated. You know, everyone's like, as soon as it's quiet in a room, everyone's like, turn on music or turn on something, and be like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. It's like, you got to be comfortable being alone. You
Yeah.
know, you got to be comfortable sitting in silence. And that's a really good way practice to get into to stay balanced. People used to tell me all the time, like, you need to meditate. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Brain has racing thoughts. Like, meditate. What does that even mean? And for me, it was going to a float tank, you know, that helped me find that part of my brain and where that space existed. And then it was through breath work, you know. And I don't use and stretching, you know, stretch. I don't feel like you do yoga. It's like, nah, I wear yoga pants sometimes and I stretch, but I don't do yoga necessarily. But just listen to your body and do the things, get in tune with yourself. Because I was having this conversation with my friend yesterday. He was saying, he's shout out to Johnny Cosmic from Stick Figure.
What's Johnny?
I love you, dude. We had a really epic conversation yesterday about, he was saying, you know, he's a songwriter, so he would always just go into the studio and with the intention of writing a song. And he's like, lately I've been just sitting or in silence, or just things have been coming to me when I just been sitting still, and it all just flows so easily, and it's so much less pressure, and it's better. The melodies are strong, the melodies that are coming out. And I'm like, yeah, dude, because the stuff doesn't come from us. You know, it comes from whatever the creative space of or ether we tap into. You know what I mean? It's like this collective consciousness where if you're songwriting or creating food for the soul or spaces for the soul or trying to create any amount of peace, it's coming from a collective source of how we're all feeling, and we're just able to put it into words or put it into a recipe of some sort, you know, for
Yeah.
other people to vibe with, to know, hey, you're not alone. I'm feeling you, put it into these words for you, you know. But it's not we're just the conduit for all of it, you know? And so the more you stay in tune with yourself, the more you listen to your body when it comes to your health, the more you listen to, and I know these things sound like lame. They're not rock star, you know what I mean? This shit's not rock star. Like, but it's true, you know what I mean? These are things that are true. And they're my truths. They're not everyone's truths, but they're my truths, you know, and they're the things that I've found to process the woes of life and the chaos of life.
Yeah.
You can create balance in your mind, and it's simply waking up every day and reminding yourself what reality you're right now living in, what moment you're living in. Because ultimately, recording music, you're just recording a moment in time. And if you can't get comfortable living in moments, you're gonna have a hard time getting them down on paper or, you know, into a recording setting. You just have to unapologetically live in the moment. That emotion might be, when you're sitting in silence, that emotion might suck. You might start crying. You might start getting angry. Whatever needs to come up that you've been suppressing, dude, trust. I lay in my bed and cry like, I don't know, at least weekly. And then like I do really weird shit and I hug myself. I started hugging myself. Started hugging myself and I started talking it out loud to myself like I was giving advice to my best friend that was going through some shit. And it sounds insane. And maybe it is, but that shit works. You know, like being selfish or loving yourself, these are things that need to happen to facilitate you know, your most optimal situation. If you want to help other people, even helping other people, you have to like be as balanced as you can that day. You know, like I can't say that I've ever found true balance, you know, like I'm not perfect. I have days where I get angry or cry or whatever, you know, I'm emotional, I'm a passionate person, but I've learned how to not let them feel so big, you know. I've tried, because I'm living in the moment. I'm like, this moment will pass and a new moment will come, instead of being like, this is gonna last forever, fuck, you know. It's like, no, it's all good. I can cry right now. I'm gonna give myself permission to cry and feel how I'm gonna feel, and then I'm gonna move on to the next moment, you know.
And I think that's the most important part, is not getting sucked into the overall like, oh, I'm so sad and it's never going to get better, because it is just a temporary thing. You like get it, you are able to process it and then like get out of it. So if it takes you a day, great, but don't let it take any longer than like a day, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take as long as it's going to take. It depends on what you're, you know, grieving through. It depends on how much unpacking you have to do, but you know, talk to some friends, let them know how you're feeling. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and write everything. When you're feeling bad, write. When you're feeling happy, write. When you're feeling angry, write. Just constantly write. Don't worry about things rhyming. Just try to get your feelings out as best you can on paper and go back. And I do that since I was a kid. I would write all these poems or just write songs or just write. And then as an adult, I still have that same process, but I'll go back to some of those things I wrote and like pick pieces out. And that's maybe what I'll make songs from if I'm not writing them right, you know, in that moment. And you'll be surprised. Like I look back at stuff I wrote, like, I wrote that? Who was that person? Like, wow, that was deep. Or whoa, I was really feeling shitty. You know what I mean? Like, damn, I'm so glad I'm feeling so much better today, you know? And it reminds you of how far you come. You can also see patterns. A lot of times what you're eating and what you're consuming in your mind, or maybe even another person's energy that you're hanging out with, greatly affect what you may write, you know? And you start noticing patterns and can kind of start rebuilding your life the way you know is good for you, you know.
That's beautiful.
That's the best advice. And don't worry about how many people are going to like it. I don't worry about that, you know what I mean? I'd rather have, you know, 100 people that it's, you know, we're really listening to each other and having a vibe, than like 1,000 people that I was like the background music to for a second. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. Don't worry about how many people are listening, because, all right, this is the best example I'm going to give.
Okay.
Norwood took me to he was doing an interview with the Far Side on Far Side TV. And Far Side's interviewing him, and they're like, Joe Fishbone is like such a huge influence of ours. Like, if it wasn't for Fishbone, Far Side wouldn't be what it is. And then like the next week or two, he's like, hey, you want to go to this special show? I have an extra ticket. I never seen the specials. I was like, yeah, I'm down. Afterwards, we're backstage with Linville. He's like saying the same shit to Linville. Dude, if it wasn't for the specials, Fishbone, blah, blah, blah. And in that moment, in that moment, because remember, whether you're a celebrity or whatever amount of success you are, you're just a person, you know, just a human being who unapologetically was like, all right, I'm doing this, like I'm committed. You could influence one person or two people and they could go on to do, you know, whatever it is. Fishbone influenced a lot of bands, the Chili Peppers, James, you know, they all fed each other. It's not about, you know, how many people are watching you or caring about what you're doing. It's about actually having connection and inspiring more creativity, you know. That's what it's for, you know. And I think people get caught up, especially now, because everything's digital. How many Spotify listeners do you have every month? How many blah blah blah? Like, I don't give a I don't know anything about Spotify. I don't know nothing about playlists. And, you know, people are like, oh, Beebs, you need to have someone handle that. You need to like get on them Spotify playlists. Like, okay, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like, I worry about creating. I don't worry about that stuff so much. You know, the people that know about my music know about my music. And I don't worry about how many more people are going to find out. And that's thing, this amazing musician that we work with, Andy Kravitz, said, you never know how your music's going to come back to you in 10, 20 years. Like, especially now at digital distribution, you put music out and it goes global. Like, it could blow up in wherever, some small country, you know, some small town in some other country. Like, and those people are raging to you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know how the music's going to come back to you, and you can't put it out there with the, you know, with the sole intention that it has to be the biggest thing ever. It just has to be the truest thing ever coming from you in that moment, you know?
That kind of leads me to my next question about your songwriting process.
It's always different. You know, I when with Beebs and our Moneymakers, when I was back in Florida, it would be like we would jam, and that's how we would find songs, and I would write it, and then we would play it out for like 3 months, and then, or maybe a whole year, we'd play out a bunch of songs that we made and just see, you know, how it's vibing, work it out in a live setting, really feel the groove, and you know, and then we would go record it, you know. And then you know, since I started working with a bunch of different producers in the last few years, sometimes we'll just sit down. It's all based on a vibe. It just doesn't matter if I'm working with a producer, you know, out of just using Logic and plugins, or if I'm working with a live band, it's just the vibe. Everyone just like agrees, yeah, this vibe's cool. We all like this, yeah. And then you start, you know, then the melody. To me, melody is everything, right? Lyrics are also important, but melodies are what resonate with the soul, just like how people can rage to your music in other countries that may not speak the same language as you, or how we can do that, you know, with other music that we don't understand. It's that vibe, you know, that melody and the whole vibe of the music that you're feeling. So I feel like melody is super important. And yeah, I just usually that's my go-to, is just the melody. What's the melody? And then I have to know, if it's not for songwriting, I feel like if I make the melody and it's not like stuck in my head by the next morning, I'm like, maybe I scratch that one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, or I just save it for maybe it's for a different song, you know? But usually, yeah, melodies just, I'm kind of like, just always have melodies in my head constantly, you know? So,
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
if the music's vibing, I'm definitely going to write something to it, you know? And I think there was a time when I first started Beebs and My Makers, there was a time when I couldn't songwrite or sing in front of anybody other than my guitar player. Like, I would get super nervous. I didn't like to hear my voice back. I still don't love listening to my own, you know, music all the time or anything, but at least I can do it now. Like, I'll sit and jam to unreleased tunes. But before, like, I would cringe. I'd make people turn it off. I hated hearing my own voice. I didn't want to listen to any of it. I didn't in front of people. I didn't want to play, you know, I didn't want to sing in front of other people. I was really shy. And then I just, as time went on, I just kind of got over it, you know, because I'm like, I want to make music. So I can't be, I just have to be vulnerable. It's a vulnerable space. And it's scary. It was terrifying when I stopped wearing a costume, you know, and started like playing just in my regular, you know, my regular clothes are kind of crazy already. But so in my mind, my stage outfit had to be like crazy, you know?
Well, yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, you get it, you know? And so performing as my, you know, self, just as Beebs, my regular clothes, because that was my separation in my mind, was terrifying. I still hate playing acoustic. Honestly, it's not my favorite thing. It's a very vulnerable space. Like, I'm like, There's nothing to hide behind. It's just me and the guitar. And I'm not a great guitar player. I just like play out of songwriting necessity, you know? So, but I pushed myself to do it because I want to be more comfortable, you know? Now I picked up the bass because of the chick from Khruangbin. I think she's so cool. She's
Yes,
the coolest. She's the coolest. And I'm like, Norwood, teach me some Khruangbin bass lines. And he started teaching me. And then I just been going off on, I don't know what I'm playing, but I'm having a really great time.
that was one of my highlights of 2020. Hashtag Beebs plays bass. Like, yes, that was so fucking sick. I want to read a few of these comments. We have Brewer Baker with us. We have Mike Dillon in the house.
Mike
Karen,
Dillon.
do you know Mike Dillon?
Yes, he's great. I love that guy.
Very
He's
cool.
if it's the Mike Dillon I'm thinking of, there's also a musician named Mike Dillon.
Oh yeah, it's the musician, the vibes player that plays
the
pull.
He is so badass. You guys should check out Mike Dillon. He is amazing. I just love. Talk about someone who's unapologetically themselves. Mike Dillon.
Mike Dillon, yeah, I've seen that motherfucker in New Orleans, completely naked, playing his drums with his member. So that was good times. Brewer says that love sign artwork in the background is epically radical. You rock. The best things are terrifying. And Jake Schwartz says you rocked at White Owl.
Oh, thanks. Oh, he was at my acoustic show. I just straight up told him I played a private acoustic show, social distance. It was like one of my first and only outings of 2020. And I got nervous last minute. I was like, I don't want to play acoustic. So Norwood and Asher from the Expanders came with me. And excuse me. And I was like, there's people here. I've only been playing live streams for a whole year. I don't even know how to talk to people in person anymore. And I just straight up told everyone, I was like, look, guys, it's my first outing. I'm not socialized yet. Don't take any offense. I'm just getting through this as best I can. You know, it was a good time though.
I bet you killed it. I had an awesome New Year's night with you. You guys were amazing.
Oh, thank you so much for tuning in. That was so fun. That was like my dream. I've had that dream for like a concept of that dream for like 3 or 4 years, you know, and I saw Daryl's house, the dude from Daryl from Hall & Oates had this show, Daryl's house, and he would just have different friends come and jam with him. Nice. Like, that'd be so sick because I love jamming and I have all these friends from all these different, you know, musical genres, and I'm like, it'd be sick to have a jam like that. And so during this time, Asher from the Expanders, the drummer from the Expanders, had reached out to me. I was like, hey, how do I get involved with Sidewalk Project? And I started, you know, telling him ways that he could be involved. We didn't really know each other through some mutual friends, but started telling them. We just started talking about music, and then I was like, yeah, we should start a jam band. I was like, I already got, you know, it's just basically part of the Expanders, part of my band out here, plus Garrett Scheider from P-Funk and Chuck Boogie from Far Side. It's a super band, and we have the most fun, and we just go. We've been recording to tape every week. Shout out to Chris Brennan from the Agrolites and Arise Roots. We've been recording to tape every week, just these jams. So that night, I think we had one rehearsal beforehand, and going over songs we made one time and recorded to tape, you know. Wow. And then we played a couple of songs from me and Nico's new upcoming project, All the Kids, and Garrett played some of his songs. I played some of my new songs that are coming out, and then we did some everybody jams, and then we just live jammed, like true live jam freestyling. It was so fun. It was the most epic. So
yeah, it looked like you guys were having an amazing time. I can't even imagine the after party.
Oh, it was just, everyone was just so high after, like, oh man, like that was the most fun jam of all time. Like we just had so much fun, you know. And I think music should be fun. So that's really what I'm working on for 2021, is bringing these everybody jams and having different special guests. And I'm working really hard on making it free to the public is my goal. For it to be sponsored so that people can have it for free, because people need music right now, and people are not everyone is, you know, not everyone's thriving financially in this time, and I don't want any amount of money to keep the music from the people, you know. And I think now, and I think people need a genuine moment. That's why I'm all about the live jam, because like yo, we could totally fuck up or whatever. I might fuck up a freestyle. It doesn't matter. But it's the moment. We're all sharing the moment together. This is real. This is live and direct. This is, I think people need genuine moments. So it's been fun. So thank you so much for tuning in. That was a great night. We're actually gonna do I think tomorrow we're restreaming it for 24 hours only. I think we're announcing that tomorrow. So so if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah, you guys totally have to check it out. It was such an epic night. Beebs, we've been on here about an hour. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to get this wrapped up. I know you're busy. Thank you guys all for tuning in. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If we don't get to them, I'm sure we will get to them.
I do want to say one thing. I mentioned Sidewalk Project a few times. I didn't tell you guys what that was, but it's an organization that my friends started that works with houseless communities, and we do harm reduction. So I know, not to be too heavy, but I know, this is a crazy time. Overdoses are on the rise. You can check out more information about the Sidewalk Project at thesidewalkproject.org. But if you or anyone you know also need Narcan, which is the drug that can reverse an opioid overdose, just good for people to carry around and, be helpful. Carry some water and some hygiene kits in your car. Be kind to your houseless communities and, show up for one another. And so that's the reference. The Sidewalk Project. That's what it is. If you want to learn more, thesidewalkproject.org. It's a beautiful community, and it's a way that we can be involved in our communities and do something instead of sitting around being bummed.
Do you volunteer with Sidewalk Project?
Yeah, I've been working with them for 3 years now. So it started by one of my best friends, Stacey D, who's in a band called Bad Cop, Bad Cop, and my friend Soma, Snake Oil, and my other friend Emily Nielsen of Punk Rock and Paintbrushes. The three of those women started the Sidewalk Project, and so I've been working with them for 3 years now, and it's been the greatest, most life-changing thing I've ever been a part of, and it really has taught me to make sure to see people, and that you always have a listening ear and a smile, and there's, even if you don't feel like you have money, if someone's asked you for money, say, sorry, I don't have any money, but how are you? You can have a conversation with someone. You don't have to brush people off, and we just need to be there for one another, So Sidewalk Project has a needle exchange in downtown LA, and we kind of act as a extension of public health. We hand out hygiene kits. We have the needle exchange. We hand out Narcan every Sunday in LA. The team goes down and does service to Skid Row and and there's teams everywhere. There's a site San Diego. There's directions on the website of how you can start your own Sidewalk Project. And then we do Zoom meetings with all the leaders of all the Sidewalk projects every Sunday. So just a cool way to, and it's all through art and music. That was the premise of Sidewalk Project, was outreach through art and music. So we would have, pre-COVID, we would have jam sessions in Skid Row. Like, I've had some of the most epic jam sessions I've ever had in Skid Row in my life. Like, so many talented humans. So right now I'm working with my friend Crucial to start building a record for the artists of Skid Row. We're going to start releasing records with some of the really incredible and amazingly talented musicians that live down in Skid Row. So it's going to be awesome.
Wow, Beebs, that is amazing. I had no idea about that. That is super fucking cool.
Yeah, if you want to donate, you can donate if you're cleaning out your stuff. There's, like I said, there's Sidewalk projects all over the country. There's one in France. There's one in Australia called the Footpath Project. And so, yeah, reach out and, be a part of it. It's really fun. All my art and everything from my website, a percentage of all the sales goes directly to the Sidewalk Project for supplies. And yeah, so
that's super fucking awesome. And what are other ways that we can support you during this time?
Mainly through my website, beebsmusic.com. I have art and art for sale on there, and my clothing line, the Beebs Boutique, lives there. You can obviously get the Bootsy Collins shirt at thebootcave.com. That lives there. And just follow me on Instagram or Facebook and stay up to date. I'm going to be releasing a lot of music in the next few months. I have a single coming out with G Love at the end of the month. We shot the video last year, right when everyone's tours got canceled, but it's coming out now. So it's a song I wrote with my friend Red from a band Red Gold Green, and Kayla from Tank and the Bangas. And and G Love features on it. So I'm really excited. Shout out to G Love. He just got nominated for a Grammy, so I'm super pumped for him, and
That's
that's very exciting.
awesome.
It's just fun to see your friends win and everyone stay, keep making art, and putting out good stuff. So thank you for all you do, and thank you for your support, and Sunshine and the Bass Kids. Like, you guys are your collective is such a beautiful and supportive collective, and thank you for being in my universe. You're just super
Oh,
rad.
you. Oh my God, that means so much to me. I appreciate you so much. And I just look up to you in so many ways. And I'm so glad that we were able to collaborate together. And I'm stoked that we were able to have this hour to chat and let the people know who you are and what is important to you.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. You're awesome. Like, let's make music soon.
Yes, girl.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let all you guys at home go. Thank you so much. We've had an epic fucking hour. And this is not the only time that we will do this because we've got to do it again, girl.
Faux show.
Woo! All right, girl. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Bye, girl.
Bye.